love contradiction. I can't help it. It's just something about the way I see the world and the way that my mind works. I'm a person with ADHD, if you didn't know. And so I'm not, a typical thinker. But I do like to make things plain and make things simple and make things accessible. So the title of this mini course is How to Listen and Not Help. Why I called it that is because I want to talk about reducing stress in your conversations with your partner. And this could actually apply to friends and even people you're dating, people you're trying to get to know, to figure out if they can catch on to how you're communicating and see if they can reciprocate the same thing. Now, you can be direct because that's, assertiveness is usually the best way, because at the end of the day, you can be accountable for what you say and what you do. But sometimes people need you to say it plainly. You can't just hope that they get the hint. So I'm going to teach you how to be a better listener and how to listen in order to help the person you care about be less stressed, so that there is space for you to help if they want it. And giving them that autonomy and that agency to say, yeah, thank you for sharing with me in this moment. What do you think I could do? Not should, because Tiffany don't do should. Shoulds make you feel shouldy. That's an old psychology joke. But think about it. When you say should, you either feel guilty because you feel bad because you didn't perform, you didn't do what you said you were going to do, or you feel rebellious because you don't want other people trying to control your behavior. And so you do the opposite. And so shoulds make you feel shouldy, and we need to get those out of our vocabulary. So that's a little bonus nugget. So I don't know about you, but every day with my partner, we decompress, we debrief, we vent. We talk about our days in detail, and we express so many things. You have to vent. Venting is important. I talk about peace, power, and joy all the time because I had an epiphany a couple of years ago that we can't actually get to the feelings that we want, the peaceful feelings, the powerful feelings, the joyful feelings, without first experiencing the negative ones, or the ones that we avoid. Because I don't even see anger, anxiety, and depression as bad necessarily. It's not bad, it's just they are conflictual. They are catalytic. They get things started. When you are angry, you are trying to find the truth. You are trying to protect yourself. You're trying to find justice. You're trying to find fairness. You can't get to the truth being all, sweet and nice, because sometimes it's not helpful to try to cover up the rawness of the truth. Same thing with sadness. Sadness acknowledges something that has value. If we just say everything's all good, how do we really know if it meant anything if we don't hurt behind it? When someone is stressed about something outside of the relationship is supposed to be a safe space for them to decompress. And so when we are listening, we have a tendency to want to fix it, get it over with, stop the conversation. I don't want to hear this. And that's going to require you to examine yourself and really try to figure out why I don't want to be present with my partner right now. If you don't have the space to listen, say that. And say it in a way that's honest but kind. Oh, I just got to tell you about my day. Hey, honey, I would love to hear about your day, but right now I'm kind of working through some things. How about we chat about it at dinner time? Because I want to be fully at attention when I talk to you. You've got to take care of yourself. You've got to put your feelings out there and be vulnerable enough to get rejected. Well, forget you then. I don't want you talking to me anyway. That could be a response. And again, that's their feelings that they have to own. And because you haven't made the space to say, I'm willing to hold your feelings, I'm willing to look at them with you, you have to leave people with it. I know we want to avoid conflict in our relationships, and that's not really a realistic goal either. We need to minimize conflict. And so having stress-reducing conversations, learning how to listen and not help specifically, is going to help keep the baseline stress in your relationship low so that you're not arguing over random things. You're not triggered all of a sudden because of things that happened weeks ago or happened at work or happened with your friend or happened with your family. You can focus on building with your partner and arguing or having conversations about the things that matter to you all and how you interact. So, first thing, I want you to know how to be a good listener. This is just like the foundation. Listening with your whole self. Okay? Eye contact. I'm not saying that you have to stare a person down, but you know, if you're on your phone, I don't know, put it down, maybe. It might be a good idea because it does feel disrespectful when someone has divided attention. If I was literally giving you this presentation and I'm like, yeah, so tell me about your day, or tell me about your relationship. Especially when we're online, it makes it even worse. Now, when I'm doing my therapy thing, I might be writing, my head might be down, I might do things like that. But in the most part, I'm fully present. Listen with your ears, listen with your eyes, listen with your body language. If you're in the presence of your partner, touching them and just letting them know that you're listening, holding their hand while they vent. Now, if they're moving and talking with their hands, of course, don't get hurt. Give them some space, personal space is important. But it's important to listen with your whole self. All right, so the second thing to be a good listener is not only hearing the bad stuff. Like I mentioned, it's hard to get to the good stuff without the bad stuff. But some of us tend to be like strategic or very much detectives looking for the negative. We are only sensitive to the negative. And for the most part, when people have stress-reducing conversations, they tend to talk about both the good and the bad of their day. Oh, oh my gosh, that girl got on my nerves today. But you know what? I actually got the account. I'm so excited about that. But I'm worried about having to work with her on a team. And I don't know if, she's going to be able to listen to me and respect me, because she tends to be really disrespectful and condescending. And, it's just so stressful. I'm excited, but I'm stressed. If you only heard that girl gets on your partner's nerves at work, you're not listening, and you're only listening for the negative. And so foundationally, listen to everything. And if you need to break up their venting, and we'll get to the things you do to make sure you heard it all. Okay, but just have it in your mindset that I'm listening with my whole body, and I am listening for everything, not just the negative. It's not even your job to listen for the problem initially. Okay, it's just, okay, I'm just going to listen. I'm here. I want to hear both the good and the bad. And then the third thing to be a good listener, to be an active listener, you can't listen if you don't communicate back. And that means you have to get an understanding. And to know that you have an understanding means you got to say stuff. Oh, for real? That's great. Yeah. I bet. That's a minimal encourager. You're encouraging your person to really continue to talk. But are you getting an understanding? Are you actually hearing what this conversation is about? And if you're not, it's going to show, because what if that person starts to ask you questions? Well, what do you think about this? Oh, whatever you want to do. Nope. You already failed. Mission abort, because you're not in that mindset to listen. And again, men and women, same-sex relationships, interracial couples, this applies to everyone. Because think about it, if you are in an interracial relationship, for example, and your partner is a person of color, BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, a person of color, and you happen to be a white person or with a white background, and you're listening to them talk about racism specifically, that is a big trigger. This is why this is so important, because just because we're reducing everyday stress, everybody's everyday stress is different, right? What I face as a Black woman is not what you face as a white person. But that doesn't mean you can't help me process and feel those feelings with someone else. Because all emotions want to do is be validated. They just want to be told that they're real. Because unfortunately, they are not facts. It's real messed up. It's like feelings are so important, but they're so not when it comes to certain things. So I say this to my clients all the time. I work with a lot of people with anxiety. And even with my leaders, they're having imposter syndrome and they're not feeling confident. And it's like, but feelings aren't facts. Just because you don't feel confident doesn't mean you don't show confidence or that you are not a confident person. Because confidence can be a personality trait and it can be an emotional state. But even in that, before I say that feelings aren't facts, I can validate the fact that, yeah, you're really feeling like you don't know what you're doing or that you're not equipped to handle these issues. But the fact is Again, but I'm not doing a stress reduction conversation. I'm doing therapy or I'm doing coaching. So, but for you and your partner, your relationship, listen with your whole body. Have the mindset to hear the whole story. Don't let your preconceived notions, we don't need any of that. Make sure you're understanding what that person's saying before you give your opinion, before you ask a question, because you are not going to help. So I'm going to give you 5 ways to listen and not help. All right? And these 5 ways are going to basically make you a supportive person. This is what people mean when they say, I just want their support. They don't have to do anything else for me. Because we really get it misconstrued. We really say like, I support them, but they need to do. Nope. Support is not criticism. Support is not judgment. Support is support. Support is, and I'm going to tell you what it is. So number 1 is interest. You have to be interested in what they're saying. So like I was saying earlier, if you're not in a mind space, if you're not in an emotional space to actually listen, then pause it. Table the issue until you are. That's what dates are for sometimes. Let's make it a date night. Give me a few hours. Let me decompress. If you guys have to go to your separate corners when you come home, if you live together, do that. It's not an insult. Everybody needs their personal space. Self-care is more than just manicures and bubble baths. Like sometimes it's just being alone with your thoughts or feeling your feelings alone and not having anyone witness it, because you'll be in a place to actually talk about them. Because feelings, they're not facts and they can't talk. So that is why validation is so important. But talking about being interested, how do you show interest? Of course, looking and being present physically, asking questions. So asking relevant questions. Don't just say, so what did you say? So what did they say? So what did you say? Sometimes it's relevant if the person is struggling with getting the words out. But really it's like, man, why do you think they did that? I don't know. I really think they don't like me. Okay, so now you're getting more feelings. You're getting more content because you're trying to think with them, basically. And then you make connections. Oh, yeah, because I remember last week you said that they did blah, blah, blah. And now they're doing blah, blah, blah. That is so confusing. Yes, baby, that is so confusing. Oh, my gosh. Oh, you understand. You've already jumped like 3 or 4 levels just by making those connections. But you're making those connections because you actually are interested and invested in your partner and their life and what they do every day. I cannot tell you how many clients I've worked with where that is the biggest hurt that they have with their family. It's not that they were ever overtly abusive as far as like physical abuse or neglect, but it is neglect. It's emotional neglect when you don't show interest in somebody you're in a relationship with, no matter what level of relationship with it is. If your parents don't care what you do every day, that's going to give you a complex. And people can sometimes take that into the relationship. And if you are learning to be supportive, you can be the first person in their life that actually is interested in them. And it makes them more interested in themselves. It's like, oh, I guess I am pretty interesting. I do have a lot of skills. I can do a lot of things. And I do like a lot of stuff. And I do think deeply. Like, it's so important to show that interest because it's a reflection. It helps people see themselves better. All right, so that's number 1, be interested. Number 2, be on your partner's team. And this is internal. This is what you're doing internally. So remember, we have the mindset of, I'm listening for everything. I'm trying to get understanding. Because that posture alone can kind of put you in a debate mode. Like, okay, I'm trying to get all the information so that I can, nope. We're getting the information so that we can strategize together. We are on the same team. But what you're really listening for is their feelings. You're listening for the emotions that need to be validated. Okay, so they said they were confused. They said they were, feeling like a failure. All right, yeah. I'm on your team. I feel what you're feeling. I'm showing you empathy. And you may not be saying anything yet. You're still actually listening, but you're processing while you're listening. That's active. Show that you get it. That's the understanding part. So as soon as you kind of gather enough, as much as your little brain can hold, you show that you get it. Oh my gosh, baby, that is so confusing to be in that environment every day and you are working your butt off and it's like nobody sees you. Yes, that's what it is. People will validate your validation and they will keep going. They'll keep letting that stress go because you have gotten it. And that's all we really want, is to be heard. And we want people to get us. Okay. And then number 4, it's we against the world. So now that we have got the story out there, excuse me, you've listened for the feelings, you get it, baby, yes. You're gonna automatically get excited and get frustrated and get like you're ready, you're energized because now you're on the same team with your partner. It's we against the world. What but we against the world again, this is not when you want to try to start to help. Don't call them out. Don't say, well, you were wrong for this. Well, I don't know, I wouldn't have done that. It's not about you. And they were not wrong. We're not judging what they're doing. We just want to focus on how they feel and how they see things. I want to be in your shoes just for that moment so I can validate what you're feeling and give you a safe space to figure out what to do next. And you're going to start feeling what they're feeling. It can be intense sometimes, but it's us against the world. And that's going to help build that connection, that friendship that's so important in relationships, and even that passion. Because especially if it's related to that partner's purpose and their job or their friendships or the things that really make their life worth living, the things that they really invest a lot of themselves in, you want to be right there in that thing with them. And so have the mentality of it's us against everybody else. Not me against the world, we against the world. And you're showing solidarity. This is our problem. So what are we gonna do? Like, how are we gonna help? How are we gonna fix this? Because this is too much. This is a lot. This is a big issue. But before you try to help, you ask them. You ask where they are. You don't tell them where they are. Well, what we need to do. We need to go sign a petition. You need to write a letter. I'm telling you, it's gonna be so tempting. You're gonna help so bad because you're gonna be feeling it. You got to be their peace at that moment. You have to be peaceful enough to say, all right, sweetheart. Because then we get to the last part, which is my favorite part, showing affection and giving them comfort. That hug, that kiss, that hand hold. Because maybe you're already holding their hand. You're squeezing it tighter. And you're affirming them. Maybe you are the most intelligent person I've ever met. You are the most capable for this job. You affirm, you comfort, you hold, you touch, whatever your partner usually needs to feel good, to feel cared for, you do that in that moment because you are reducing stress. I mean, there's so much research on how physical touch reduces stress. Because think about it, emotions are energy and they're coming to the surface. And if I'm all tense and stuff and somebody squeezes me a little tighter, I relax. If I'm jumping around and all over the place and somebody just touches me on my arm or on my leg, all that energy goes into that hand and I can settle. Don't underestimate the little things. So yeah, showing support is not easy, but once you get used to it, it comes out like air. And you can't wait to support somebody else because you're in this life with them. And it's just so powerful how many relationships get better because they learn how to do this. Reducing stress is a big part of having a partner because you're doing life with somebody. So, going back to the beginning, to be a good listener, you need to have the mindset that you're present physically and mentally, that you are all listening for everything, not just the negative, and that you are trying to get an understanding of the other person. Because empathy is both a physical experience and a cognitive or mental experience. If you're not thinking and feeling at the same time, you're not showing empathy. Sympathy is I feel for you. Oh man, that's sad. I'm sad too. But are you really? You just saying you sad. And then, but empathy is, oh, I'm sad too. And I understand why you're sad. And I understand why I'm sad. And I understand why this will make anyone sad. That's empathy. It goes deeper. So, being a good listener, being present, being thorough, and getting an understanding. And then the 5 ways to show someone support in a stress-reducing conversation. Number 1, show interest. Number 2, be on that person's team mentally. Try to get their perspective and show empathy. Number 3, show that you get it. Verbally affirm and validate their feelings, their thoughts, and their perspective. Number 4, take the stance of it's we against the world. take the stance of this is our problem, not your problem, because you will stay out of the space of trying to help when the person has not opened up the door for you to help. And number 5, show affection and show love. Be affectionate, whether that's verbally, physically, asking what they need. Spending that time itself is already showing affection. It's quality time. So, okay. Whew. I love the stress reducing conversation. It doesn't stress me out. It makes me excited to know that this information is out there now. Every client that I work with, at some point we're going to talk about that. Because, I mean, that's a lot of what I do, minus the affection part, boundaries, right? I'm not touching nobody. But I can affirm people verbally, but that's how you show support. And if you feel like something's missing in your relationship, it's probably that. That's like basic, because you do that with all your friends. That's why you go to your friends sometimes more than your partner. And it's good to have multiple people to get different support from, because some people may be better at supporting you in one area of life versus another. But your life partner, especially if you're engaged or you're married or you're, committed in a cohabitation situation, that's kind of like the default, right? Like, they don't have to be your everything, but they're kind of like that backbone. They're that first person you want to go to really get the stress off of you, because then you are released enough to be that same one. So I appreciate you taking the time to listen to this talk, because when I come back next week with Epiphany session number 3, we're going to learn how to say the thing. We're going to learn how to express ourselves to get rid of stress, because a lot of times we focus on the people that are listening, but sometimes it's us. Sometimes we are not saying things clearly. And so I'll give you some tips on how to be a better communicator when it comes to expressing your stress and expressing your emotions. Yeah, okay. And then just FYI, this group will be open indefinitely, because I am starting a online course called the Couples Collab. It starts March 6th, and basically it's a group couples coaching. It's couples group coaching. Sorry about that. And so basically you sign up, one person signs up, one person pays. However you want to pay, there's several different ways. But basically for 10 weeks, you get curriculum. First you do an assessment. So once you sign up, I get your partner's email and your email, and I send you an assessment. It's called Prepare and Enrich, and it's a full assessment of different parts of your relationship. I get results, and you'll get results in the group. So every week I'll release your results to you. You'll do the activities, and then every Saturday morning, I will have a live coaching session. So we'll talk about the results you got. We'll talk about anything in your relationship related to that with the group, and it'll be recorded. So even if you miss it, you might be busy, you might be brunching on Saturday. I don't brunch till 1, so that's why it's at 11. But maybe brunching on a Saturday, you can watch the video back and get that information and kind of be a part of that experience. So you do that for 10 weeks. You get a nice certificate, because Prepare and Rich is a well-recognized program. And it also allows me to give some of my other knowledge that I've gotten as a couples therapist and apply it to a coaching situation, so that I'm not getting so deep in your business that, we're leaving raw. I want to pour and pour and pour into you all as a couple, and hopefully build a community like I'm trying to build here on Facebook over onto the online course. I have a 3-day mini journal, because it's like sometimes journals are like a week or a month. I want you to kind of get into the habit of prioritizing your relationship and seeing the difference it makes just to have a kind of structured conversation that can go anywhere. And so basically it's a 3-day journal. Day 1, you talk about listening. You kind of practice some of the stuff I'm talking about here with supportive listening. Day 2, you talk about those topics that maybe you haven't really spoke much about, and hopefully use the skills that I share next week. And then the 3rd day is really the dreaming part. Like, what do we see for ourselves? And, a space to put your dating bucket list. So each partner can put, the things that they want to see in their relationship in the future. And I have all these kind of different areas of your lives to kind of give you some structure on how to think about it. Because what do I want to do with my life is kind of a big question. But what do I want to do with my partner and in the art world, that's a little bit more specific. I'm excited about this group. I really want it to be a great turnout. You can either pay monthly or you can pay all at once, but you get access to me for those 10 weeks. And then I will be doing the course about every 3 to 4 months to get a new cohort. So that class you have, it'll be a space for you to build a relationship with other couples, because it's really hard to make couple friends. And it's good to have support, because there's this kind of myth out there that you don't really talk about your relationship issues in the public space, and you don't. So how do you find safe spaces to talk about relationship issues or just questions? There's a membership called Love on Epiphany Lane, and that membership gives you a year of access to all these mini courses, and also one-on-one access. Every couple gets, 2 one-on-one couples coaching sessions with me over the course of the year. You got your coach, you got your access to all your classes, and you can do it at your own pace and really make your relationship a priority and really invest in it, because we have come out of we are still in one of the craziest times in history, and relationships have really suffered from it. I mean, a lot of people have ended their relationships prematurely or after many, many years. I mean, my couples work has really intensified, and which is why I've had such a heart for this, especially for my LGBT couples or my Q plus couples and interracial couples, because it's really hard to find safe spaces to talk about those difficult things and how discrimination and how the way our world is really impacts their everyday lives. And so I'm just super excited to continue to keep giving. I will be back with Say the Thing. Say the Thing, talking about how to improve your communication in your relationship when it comes to talking about your own stress. All right, this has been Tiffany Lindley with On Epiphany Lane, saying peace, passion, and love on the journey